We are officially 1 week away from the 2023 NHL trade deadline, and although we've already seen a handful of significant moves, there's still a lot of big name players available. Unless you're a brand new subscriber, I'm sure you're all familiar with the NHL Deal or No Deal series, where you guys give me mock trades and I react to them in a video. Today we're going to be doing something similar to that, but instead of reacting to your guys' mock trades, we're going to be reacting to some from ESPN. This article just came out this morning. Predictions for NHL trades, including Kane, Demko, and Meyer. ESPN reporters Ryan S. Clark, Kristen Shilton, and Greg Wyszynski, who is a big presence on hockey Twitter, I'm sure most of you are familiar with him, are the people that came up with these mock trades. Thought this would be kind of fun. I will leave a link to the article down below at the top of the description if you guys want to go and read the entire thing for yourself, because we're really just going to be looking at the trades themselves, not all the reasoning as to why ESPN believes these trades would make sense, etc. So the first mock trade of the article comes from Ryan S. Clark, this one between the Devils and the San Jose Sharks, that has New Jersey acquiring Timo Meyer in exchange for a 2023 first-round pick, Alexander Holtz, Seamus Casey, or Shakir Mukhamadullin, or Akira Schmid. So basically Timo Meyer for a first, Holtz, and then one of those three other prospects mentioned, whichever one San Jose prefers. I'm sure that's kind of the idea here. And listen, if you've been following my coverage on trade speculation for the past few months, you probably know how I feel about this one. Love it. I would say yes, I think the New Jersey Devils are the team that are going to wind up landing Timo Meyer. The fit just makes all the sense in the world. The New Jersey Devils are a team that are now just finally entering their contention window, and Timo Meyer isn't just your typical rental. He's a 26-year-old who's just now really hitting his peak. He's going to be an RFA at season's end. I think Timo Meyer would make a beautiful addition to the Devils' young core that already includes the likes of Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Igor Sharangovich, Dawson Mercer. You can go on and on. It's definitely a steep price to pay. The first, Alexander Holtz, who was a 7th overall pick in 2020, and then one of the other prospects mentioned in Mukhamadullin's case, he was a first rounder. Seamus Casey, defenseman for the University of Michigan, he was a second rounder that's shown a lot of promise. And Akira Schmid is a young goaltender, 22 years old, who's done really well in 9 NHL games this season, but at least in this particular mock trade, it's not like you'd have to trade all 4 of those prospects. It's just Holtz and then one of the other 3, and the Devils can afford to do that. Like I mentioned, they already have an amazing young core on the NHL roster, and that was without even mentioning prospects like Simon Nemec and Luke Hughes, who are both going to be studs. This is exactly the kind of trade I think the Devils should be looking to make leading up to the trade deadline, because you're not just getting a guy who's only going to help with short-term success. You're getting a guy in Timo Meyer who can be a massive part of your future as well. The next mock trade we have, this one comes from Greg Wyszynski, and it is between the New York Rangers and the Chicago Blackhawks, has the Rangers acquiring Patrick Kane and a 2023 4th-round pick in exchange for Vitaly Kravtsov, Jake Leschyshyn, a 2024 1st-round pick, and Colorado's 2023 4th-round pick. This mock trade also has a third-party team getting Chicago's 2023 4th-round pick for likely helping retain some of Patrick Kane's salary. I honestly believe something almost identical to this is likely going to happen between now and the trade deadline. The speculation of Kane to New York has really ramped up over the past 48 hours. The Rangers actually sat out Vitaly Kravtsov and Jake Leschyshyn in last night's game against the Red Wings for roster management reasons. Elliot Friedman also tweeted out earlier today that it's possible the Rangers keep Leschyshyn and Kravtsov out of practice just to be safe as they try to maximize cap space. If a Patrick Kane deal to New York happens, those two almost have to be included. It's certainly not going to be an easy trade to orchestrate because the Rangers are working so close to the cap after acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko, but it seems like the stars are aligning and that this is something that's actually going to happen. And if this is what the actual trade looks like if/when it happens, and the Hawks are able to get a 1st-round pick on top of Kravtsov and Leschyshyn, considering the fact that the Blackhawks really had no leverage in this deal because Patrick Kane is only willing to waive to go to the Rangers, I think that's a good return. It's certainly better than losing Patrick Kane, who is one of, if not the greatest Blackhawk of all time, for nothing as a free agent. In my opinion, Kravtsov is still an intriguing player. He was a 9th overall selection in 2018. He's still young. I think he's in desperate need of a change of scenery, and in Chicago, he'd likely get the opportunity to play consistent top 9 minutes, which is just something he hasn't gotten the opportunity to do in New York. Chicago is a team with no expectations. There wouldn't be as much pressure on him to perform when he's in the lineup. It's not like if he made a couple of mistakes or had a couple bad shifts in a row, he'd be sitting on the bench like he would be in New York, right? So this is definitely another mock trade that I like, and like I mentioned before, I think there's a very high chance we see a mock trade almost identical to this happen sometime between now and the trade deadline based off of all the reports we've been getting recently. Moving along now to the next mock trade. This one again comes from Ryan S. Clark, and it is between the Winnipeg Jets and the Philadelphia Flyers. This trade has the Jets acquiring James Van Riemsdyk in exchange for a 23 first, prospect Danny Zhilkin, who was a third rounder in the most recent draft, and then also has a third party team getting a 2024 fourth round pick. And if this trade were to happen, there would almost have to be a third team involved to retain salary because JVR makes $7 million. The Jets should definitely be in the market for a scoring winger at the trade deadline. I don't think you really need to touch the defense at all. They're third best in the NHL, allowing just 2.59 goals against per game. Obviously, you have Hellebuck as the backbone of that defense, playing like a Vezina candidate this season. I think JVR would definitely fill out the Winnipeg Jets top six nicely. You'd have Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, and then Ehlers, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and JVR. But the thing is, I just don't know if JVR at this point in his career would be worth the Jets giving up this much. A late first rounder and a prospect that they just drafted in the third round for a guy in JVR who is a UFA at season's end. This would likely just be a rental. I feel like there might be some better options out there for the Winnipeg Jets where they wouldn't have to give up as much. I still think JVR is definitely a useful player, but someone that comes to mind who I think might be a better fit is Ivan Barbashev. Likely wouldn't have to give up as much as you would in this particular mock trade for James Van Riemsdyk. He also has a much smaller cap hit where there wouldn't have to be a third team involved. So that's where I stand on this mock trade. I love the idea of JVR in Winnipeg, but if this is the asking price, then I think there's some smarter options out there. Moving on now to the next mock trade. This one was made by Kristen Shilton between the Penguins and the Blues. This trade has the Pittsburgh Penguins acquiring Ivan Barbashev from the St. Louis Blues in exchange for a 2023 second round pick and prospect Philip Hollander. The Penguins have really been sliding as of late. They were blown out last night by the Edmonton Oilers. They're currently on the outside looking in terms of the playoff race. In almost any other situation, it wouldn't be smart for a team like that to go out and buy at the trade deadline, but when it comes to the Pittsburgh Penguins, they have the longest active running playoff streak. You have guys like Malkin, Letang, and Crosby still playing at an elite level. I think you owe it to those guys to try to do what you can to make this roster good enough to make the playoffs. I think Barbashev would be a nice addition. He's a versatile middle six forward, can play center or the wing. In Pittsburgh, I feel like he'd probably slot in as that number 3 center. I follow a lot of Penguins fans on Twitter, and I feel like almost every day I see them complaining about Jeff Carter and how poor of a job he's done this season as number 3C. So Barbashev would definitely address a need. I like this mock trade. Again, in most cases, I wouldn't suggest a team in the Penguins situation should be buyers, but it's a unique situation, and in this particular mock trade, they wouldn't have to give up a first round pick, so I think this one makes sense. And now for the final mock trade of the article. This one was put together by Greg Wyszynski between the Los Angeles Kings and the Vancouver Canucks. It's a big one. The Kings get goaltender Thatcher Demko, Anthony Beauvillier, Luke Shen, and a 2023 third round pick, and the Vancouver Canucks receive an unconditional 2023 first, a 2023 third, prospect Alex Turcotte and Jordan Spence, goaltender Cal Peterson, and also forward Alex Iafallo. This would be an absolute blockbuster of a deal. On the surface, though, I don't really like this for the Vancouver Canucks, actually. I know Thatcher Demko has had a miserable season, but he's a guy with a good reputation, and he's somebody who, through long stretches of time throughout his career, has looked like one of the better goalies in the league. This deal would have Vancouver taking back Cal Peterson, who's literally in the AHL right now, has a $5 million cap hit through 2024-25. This season at the NHL level, and all of last season a sub 900 save percentage. I know for the money to work, he would likely have to be included in this deal, but I just don't think it makes sense for Vancouver. Also can't see them wanting to move Anthony Beauvillier in a trade like this either. Beauvillier has actually been really good for Vancouver since coming over in that Horvat trade. Sure, you'd be getting back Alex Iafallo, who is a scoring winger, could kind of cancel out losing Beauvillier, but I feel like in the Canucks situation, you'd rather have Beauvillier, who, like I said, has been good in Vancouver and is much younger than Iafallo as well. This is one that I really just don't like for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for them, but if this is a deal that Vancouver came to Los Angeles proposing, I think the Kings would accept in a heartbeat. So that is going to wrap up this video reacting to some of ESPN's mock trade predictions for next week's trade deadline. Really interested to hear what you guys have to say, so let me know your thoughts on these proposed mock trades down below in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see me react to more articles like this in the near future, then be sure to leave a like. That is the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all soon.